My name is Patrice. I'm one of the founders of Imagine This Women's International Film Festival. Today is our last day, so if you haven't had a chance, please take the time out to watch all of the great films and check out all the panels and workshops we have currently on our YouTube. Today we have this great workshop that we're doing with Scriptation. They're one of our partners for the festival. It's a great app, and I think everyone should take the opportunity to learn more about it. And Alex, if you don't mind, if you just introduce what it is that you do at Scriptation and what Scriptation is all about.
Sure. Thanks, Patrice. So I'm Alex. I'm the marketing director at Scriptation. We are an Emmy Award winning app for production. Scriptation is the #1 way to mark up your scripts digitally, and we're trying to, make the industry a little bit greener. Today, we have a class with Dr. Rachel Raimist, who is an incredible TV director and Scriptation guru, I'll have to say. So she's going to show you a little bit about how she uses the app in production and in pre-production.
Thanks so much for that intro, Alex. All right, we'll dive in and you'll get to know who I am and what I do as part of this presentation. So since we've got an hour together, we're going to go ahead and get started. So I am Dr. Rachel Raimist. I am an episodic television director, but also a formerly tenured college professor. And in my free time, I teach classes with software that I cannot live without, including Scriptation. So that's why I'm here today. That's how you can reach me at the bottom of the screen. So my directing credits, I work in a lot of different lanes, from 1-hour dramas to more family dramas to kids show, half-hour comedies to family fantasy, big VFX to dance, music, rap shows, lots of stunt and action and all kinds of things. And it's a lot to think through, prep for, keep track of, and that's why I use these tools. When I am not on set, I'm often teaching. So on the right-hand side, you'll see all of the places that I have taught. I was tenured at the University of Alabama. I currently teach for Cal State LA and Rochester Institute of Technology, and my own passion project, the People's Film School, because I am about making this industry more transparent, more accessible, and increasing the pipeline so that anyone who has something to say can develop their skills and make it an industry. So why digital? Really what I'm talking about today is digital prep using Scriptation and other software. So Alex pointed to why Scriptation, and I'm going to share many more reasons as briefly as possible so we can get to the software. But for me, it saves a lot of time. I can prep my materials on my laptop and my iPad and using my iPhone, and then save everything across all devices. With Scriptation, I can seamlessly transfer my notes, whatever I've embedded, location photos, wardrobe photos, really anything that I've saved into Scriptation, any notes that I've written. And every time I get a new draft, because in television, I always get new drafts, I'm able to seamlessly transfer the notes from one draft to the next draft. I can easily share my prep with all of my creative collaborators, whether it's my DP or my AD or script supervisor or anyone who needs to see my plans. I can, with a click of a button on my iPad, save whatever information they need. Alex mentioned saving paper, going greener, being more conscientious about waste. Hollywood is a very wasteful industry, but we are working to change that. There was a line producer who spoke on a panel about Scriptation for the Directors Guild of America. She said using Scriptation, and she got it in teams for her whole team. She said they saved about 275,000 pieces of paper per episode, because there's hundreds of people who work on every episode and many, many copies of all of the drafts and all of the things. In television, we use a lot of throwaway papers. That's what I call them, because you look at it and then you toss it. And sometimes they never even throw it away. Folks just leave it on the bus, leave it on the table, leave it on the craft service table. Things like prelims, call sheets, scout itineraries. Why print them? Why waste the paper? And you lose it anyway. I mark all my notes. I ask for everything to be delivered to me in a PDF in my email. They can also text things to me or AirDrop files to me instantly, and I can mark them up and save them digitally in my iPad. So I always have access to all my notes. For me, this increases all the good things. I can focus my time on actual directing. I can be more creative, more collaborative, more efficient, and just so much less paperwork, and help save the environment just a little bit in the work that we do. I also have backup notes that I can access across my devices. So my Scriptation I use on set with my iPad, but I can share it on my laptop. I can access it on my phone. It's all very, very easy. It's easy to create, revise, collaborate, and share all the materials that I need digitally. And it doesn't let me click. Just think about how much paper goes to waste on your set. When I mentioned prelims, call sheets, tech scouts, all the kinds of things. These are just a couple from shows I've directed, from Sex Lives of College Girls to Wu-Tang and American Saga. Going digital, good. So my prep process. This workshop is about episodic television, my prep process, and the use of Scriptation. So my process is I will get the script via email, and I open it up into Scriptation, and I will show you in a few minutes that process. So I'll go over some of the key tools in Scriptation. I'll open that file from email into my Scriptation. And if friends, you could drop a link to Scriptation for those who don't have the software, then folks can access that information if we can put that up for folks. So I will use Scriptation, open it up, and just read the script, enjoy the story. I will use the handwriting tool to put like exclamation point when I just love something, or a heart when something makes me feel something, or a question mark like, what? I don't understand what just happened. Where is she coming from? Where she's going? What does she want? And it's an easy way to track my first read. Then in prep for my first big meeting, which is called the concept meeting, I will mark my script with Scriptation. Now, I'm a very nerdy prep director. I claim it, I own it. I have a color-coded system. It's totally arbitrary. I put my characters in yellow, wardrobe in purple, props in blue. Whenever there's a physical action, I use a wavy underline. If there's a performance note, I use an underline. Music cues, special effects, visual effects, stunt, driving scene, something that's gonna be time intensive. Anytime you see screens, TVs, projections, basically anything that I am going to have a prep meeting about, I highlight. Or anything that I do not want to forget on the day when all of the things are happening, I can very easily in my script see who is doing what, is holding what, and what performance notes do I need to hit. It makes the important information jump off the page for me. Then I have an extra nerdy step. I make spreadsheets with Google Sheets, where I put all of these things, everything I'm having a meeting on, into a nerdy column for a spreadsheet, and I can take notes during the meeting. So in any given meeting, I have my laptop, we're usually meeting on Zoom, and then I'll have my spreadsheet, and I'll have my script next to me on Scriptation, where I can just flip and we do page turns, where it's like, okay, scene one, this happens, and we need this, and we're gonna have to have this. And I can put those notes in my spreadsheet, because I don't like crowding my script with notes that I don't need on the day meaning when we're filming. So I use a nerdy spreadsheet. It's an extra step for a lot of people. I then start gathering visual references. I use websites like ShotDeck, Film Grab. ShotDeck is a subscription created by a cinematographer, pretty incredible, or film-grab.com, which is free, and also other image sources. And I'll start building a keynote where I'll have location photos, any key photos that, what might those props look like? What might the wardrobe look like? What is that location? And I start organizing my text-based information in a spreadsheet and my visual information in Keynote, where I then start blocking and shot listing as I'm location scouting. What does that look like? So before I dive in, the most important thing that I want you to get from today's session is I cannot live without scriptation. I cannot do what I do as a director. I cannot be as creative or efficient or make my day. I always make my day, which is really important in television, with an asterisk. There's been a couple where in advance you say, we're not going to make today. And they say the schedule's going to live like this. But when we plan to make the day, because of these digital tools, I know what my day looks like. I know what the work will look like, and I can just get really creative and have fun. Scriptation allows me to annotate or mark up my script from a PDF file. It allows me to highlight, underline, add blank facing pages where I can put floor plans, pictures, hand draw a floor plan or a shot list, or check things off. I often will type a checklist, especially if it's something where I have to do. In Wu-Tang, I had a scene that was bookending the episode where one was shot in slow motion, 96 frames, and the same action was shot in 24 frames with dialogue. And every time I got the shot of the particular character, I check it off in my scriptation. So I can do all different kinds of things. You can sync across the devices. You can make a very easy reader modes, because actors will love to look, or crew members, what do you got going on there? Or what was my line? And I can make the text really big. Big feature for television, and really for any director who's having multiple drafts of the script, is the seamless transfer function. There's a layers function, and all kinds of other things that we will get into. If you don't have scriptation, you can get a free trial that lets you try out most of the tools. Moving forward. So I said I use this nerdy color-coded system. This is what it looks like on a scene from Wu-Tang, where I am highlighting who, Meth, Raekwon, Dirty, You God, Jizza, Deck, RZA, what they're wearing, hoodies, what they're holding, a bottle of Hennessy, a Wu-Tang sword, a book, what they're wearing, Timberland's gold chain, that kind of thing. So when I said it pops off the page, that's what it looks like. Now, what does my prep look like? For the show Fantasy Island, it looked like this. I mentioned I'll do my nerdy spreadsheet on my laptop, and then I'll have my script on my iPad next to me. In Puerto Rico, where we shot Fantasy Island, this is what it looked like. So inside of scriptation, I can have pictures. So what I've got on the right-hand side, this is also a Wu-Tang script. This is the opening. And this is that slow motion. So you see in the pink, that super slow motion. So I've got music cues. Scriptation lets me embed and record a clip of music. That music I will record. I can record me talking and pronouncing something. If an actor has to pronounce a word, you can use recording to do that. For this, RZA scripted Pavarotti. So I just played it on my phone to my iPad and recorded that song. So I knew I had it in my head, and I could play from my iPad what that pace and rhythm of the scene is. Then there's all the other things I talked about in terms of highlighting. And then that A and B is making sure I had a shot of Ashton, who plays RZA, in slow motion A and 24 frames B, and I would check it off as we got it. And that's what some of those handwritten notes are. For Wu-Tang, if you know Wu-Tang, they say Wu-Tang killer bees on a swarm, because it's a group of guys, 20-something-year-old characters that are always moving, and that's wearing black and yellow, so bees on a swarm. For blocking for this show, I had art department print out very big overhead director's plans, and I actually used Post-it notes. So the process to plan blocking shot lists can happen in any way. I said go digital, but Wu-Tang, I had to go old school. You see that picture on the left, and what I did was create a facing page. So if you're old school and you still use a script binder, and you open the script and you start scribbling on that blank facing page, that's where it comes from. You can add a blank facing page so that you can insert, I put a picture of my floor plan, And in fact, I used yellow Post-it notes for my shot list there. And then I was checking it off. I'll show you digital floor plans and shot lists, and you can also draw things right into Scriptation. So in a few minutes, I'll show you how to do some of these tools. But for now, I just want to overview how I use it, what it looks like for television. Now, this is a scene, a script page, and a screenshot of what my Scriptation looks like for an episode of 4400, which was on the CW. This was a very big stunt scene and a lot of dramatic beats. So I broke down the script on the right-hand side with each physical action that had to happen. And then at that time, I was using Shot Designer, which is a program that works, but I find to be a little bit clunky. No offense to the folks of Shot Designer. I used it for years. That's what my floor plan looked like. And you could see the numbers of the beats, and I hand wrote that corresponding beat on the script. So I was able to keep track of things. And then I would write notes. So at the bottom there, you see entree, not question. That was actually a note on the day of filming. So I think the actor, who was phenomenal, said, but Noah, and I didn't want to forget by the end of the tape. So I wrote, not a question, so that I would have that actor's notes. Facing pages can look like, this is Keynote, which is my current method. So this was a scene, locker room. Okay, no, that was also a Shot Designer. This is a scene from Sex Lives of College Girls. If you saw the episode in season 1 where Whitney thought it was unfair that the soccer team gets all, the guys soccer team gets all the resources and she goes into their locker room, that was the plan. Now that shows a comedy. The writers of comedies are typically right there pitching all jokes. So one of the things I did, I had that floor plan that I put as an image on a facing page, but in Scriptation, as the writer was talking and pitching alt jokes or other versions of the line she wanted me to try, and the showrunner wanted me to try, I typed it in right in Scriptation. So you see alts. This is insane. Next up is the literal biggest custom carpet I've ever seen. It was like jokes because it was a very giant carpet in the locker room at UCLA. On the right-hand side, you'll see, a little bit of highlighting, little bit of handwriting, and that pink Post-it note looking feature. That's a private note. So what I do is when I have my tone meeting, which is the meeting that's just with the showrunner, what I'll do is take notes of everything they say. Don't forget this, and in this scene, she is this, and make sure we don't cross the line into this, or she shouldn't be angry but frustrated, or whatever the larger notes are, or the things that I need to make sure I deliver story-wise or actor performance-wise, something that's private. Because people, as I said, love to what you got going on in that iPad? Folks love to look into the iPad. So I can show an actor my iPad and my Scriptation file, and all my private notes of what the showrunner has said are in those private little, what I call the Post-it notes in Scriptation. So super useful, super handy. One of the tricks I learned in a Scriptation workshop from another director, Michael Spiller, who does a lot of great shows, what Michael does, where I typed those alts on the bottom left, Michael will type that alt and then physically put it over the line of dialogue. So his Scriptation page just reads as the version of the scene he's filming. And then he can always move it over and back. But I found that genius. In this case, I had several different alts for that block of dialogue at the bottom of the screen. So I wrote it on the left side on the facing page. So the tools in Scriptation and the help. That's the other thing. People go, I'm not good with technology. I don't know how to do this. Scriptation has so much help and tutorials and recorded seminars and live classes that you really can get the help that you need. So if you go to help.scriptation.com, there are tutorials that are recorded and very, very clear on all of the tools and all of the things that Scriptation does, so that you can go right away. They also respond when you say, I don't know how to do this, or I'm having a glitch in this function or something, which doesn't happen often, but sometimes when you update your iPad or computers, when you update something, sometimes that throws something else off, and Scriptation will always reply and help you. And that is priceless, especially when you're in the midst of working on a project. So we're going to dig in, but before we dig into Scriptation, I said I use Keynote now. This is from the show up here on Hulu. Bottom left is showing my location scout photos of where we're filming in Miguel's apartment. The top right shows an overhead floor plan, and let me move my little Zoom box window, shows the floor plan of Miguel entering, carrying a box with Yogurt, his dog. We have A camera, steady cam, pullback, and wrap around, and then B cam lying in wait. I use Keynote because I can color code the cameras, I can control everything, I can import the overhead director's plan that art department gives me. And I now create typically my shot list. So that turquoise with gray A and B camera is how I typically am doing my shot list. And then I had a scene in a car with a locked off shot where the mom character who's in the driver's seat pops up as her head character, because up here are the voices up here in your head. You know how your mom's like, or I hope not. But some moms, I try not to be this mom, some moms are like, why are you wearing that? You're going to go on a date with that? Why would you do that? Why don't you have your makeup? Rachel, fix your hair. What are you doing? I'm looking now at the Zoom box with the voice of my mother in my head saying, Rachel, your hair, and you're this and you're that, and you need more lipstick, or whatever the case may be. That's what this show was about. Rather than doing a floor plan or what have you, I used screenshots that I got on Shot Deck for Ladybird, put what shot and framing I wanted, and then I exported this slide and put it on my facing page in Scriptation. So I could have my location photos, I can have my floor plan and shot list, I can have everything that I create in Keynote and put it into Scriptation. This is where the game changed for me using these digital tools. So I mentioned why I use Keynote. These are some of the ways. I teach a class just on Keynote for directors prep. You can study with me at thepeoplesfilmschool.com, and I have a recorded class on this. But because I want to bring you into Scriptation, I'll move forward. One last example, and I'm not going to play the video just because time is always against us in a 1-hour seminar when I could teach this for hours and hours. This was my floor plan for CSI Vegas for a tumbleweed. That's actually an aperture symbol in Keynote that was already in there under shapes. So my tumbleweed, and then I had a crane moving in. Those are some pictures from the right-hand side. This is what it looks like in Scriptation. So I've got the script where it's telling me the tumbleweed blows past shops and cafes, now closed and creepy. And then I've got location photos. It's X'd out because we lost that location. I got a different location for last minute. It all worked out lovely. But you see my highlights, my marking, my handwriting with my facing page of my materials from Keynote. All right, so I teach a pretty thorough step-by-step tutorial that walks you through every piece of opening the software, navigating, finding that help page. I put it again there on the top right because that is always key when you're like learning new software. Where do I find that information? How do I use layers? How do I add the storyboard template? All of that is in that help page. I go through settings, software overview, page views, importing the script, all of these things. I'm going to probably be able to get through this first page of 2 pages And so I invite you to study in a hands-on workshop with me that I'm teaching through my program, thepeoplesfilmschool.com, next weekend. And it will be recorded, so you can always access that class where we will really deep dive into as many functions as I use in Scriptation. But what we'll do right now is start here. So I'm going to stop sharing this for now and go to my iPad. And how are we doing on questions? Scriptation folks, we're good. Folks are getting their questions answered in the chat. Okay, great. Oh, they're watching live on YouTube. This is not like a regular webinar. I'm talking to myself now. That's what happens when you do this in webinar form and not in webinar format. So I am going to share my iPad. Bear with me, friends. It just takes a second to connect. Sometimes Zoom doesn't love to share, but it's going to work. There it is. And for anyone who is like, I'm not a technical person, all this digital stuff, if you can use a laptop, if you know how to use any software on a Mac, if you have an iPad, you'll very easily be able to learn Scriptation. So when I open the software, I keep it down at a tab at the bottom of my bar on my iPad, and I store everything in iCloud. You can use Google Drive, you can use Box, you can use different types of storage, but I keep everything in my iCloud because my iCloud lets me open seamlessly my laptop, my iPad, my phone. So in the main menu of Scriptation, when you open it up on your iPad, there's a couple important things. At the very, very bottom left, by that little red bell that's moving, is the settings function. Settings lets me choose if I want to see single page or double facing pages. I'm going to start with single page. It lets you control how you scroll, how you jump through the little menu on the bottom, and various other things. The other thing it does is it'll allow me to choose to show or hide library and tutorials. These little buttons right here. I show these tutorials because when I want to get to that help page that I've now shown you about 3 times, I can get to the help page right in my Scriptation left sidebar. And there's also a quick start guide down here at the bottom, and then some of the library folders. So what I won't likely go into today, but is very, very useful, are these template pages for storyboards. So if I have a scene that's already been storyboarded, I can choose a page where I literally can import images. I can add this landscape fillable page into a facing page of my Scriptation file, use my photo library to put all of those images into a storyboard, into a format. And they have all of these different formats for landscape or portrait. I think I used one as a demo. There's a frame from up here, and there's my best friend with one of his children. So all of that and more tools, including things I don't use, but that other crew members who use Scriptation might need, this progress report and other things that's in this library here. And then I believe Showcase gives you some demos. And then, yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go into my iCloud, and I'm actually going to create a new folder. So whenever you need a function to add something new, it's usually these 3 dots. I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it FF for Film Festival Demo and save. Now it's going to create that FF demo right here on the left side. And you see I have 3 dots, which means I can add it to favorites. This is a new tool that I love, friends from Scriptation. Add to favorites, and then it will show at the top of that other window. And you see a little star there. So I have now my folder for Film Festival Demo. Typically, I receive my scripts via email. So I'm going to go into my email, and I have already emailed myself the files that I'm going to use. I'm going to, let's go ahead and use this second green. This is from the 21st versus 3/9. So let me use this file because it's older first. And then all I do is use this square with the arrow going up, which is the kind of Mac. What do you want to do with this file? Where do you want to move it? And I will roll to Scriptation, click on Scriptation. It'll say, where do you want to save it? I'll go to my iCloud, and I will go to my starred Film Festival Demo folder and select. And now it opens the script for me. And if I go to my menu, inside that Film Festival Demo folder is where my file is saved. Where people sometimes make a mistake or go wrong or get stressed out is if you accidentally save on your iPad, which I think was in this function here on my iPad. So if I save something to my iPad, it's just local to this iPad. If I want to sync across devices, then I need it in my iCloud or some other shared folder. So we're in Wu-Tang, An American Saga, episode 208, Saturday Night, written by Earl Davis, directed by me in 2021. And shout out to Alex C., Imagine, Riza, and everyone who gave me permission to use my Wu-Tang materials to teach other folks how to direct and scriptation. So on the top, what you'll see, these 3 lines get you back to that folder. The next is layers, which is a more advanced tool that I probably won't get into, but what it lets me do is keep my notes and assign them to different layers. And I can export, say, a PDF or export this layer and send it to my DP or send it to my production designer. I think for, say, feature directors where you are working to prep for a long time, or even short film directors, you're working to prep for a long time on one project, where in TV, I'm prepping for like a week or less, depending on the show. And I might want to export all of my notes about ideas for the sets we're going to build to the production designer. So you can do that with layers. The next tool is actors. Let me go to a page with some dialogue. If I go to actors, I can turn on certain characters and assign them different colors so that I can see whose dialogue, I can highlight that. I can also look and say, whose episode really is this, right? Like, Riz is the main character, but he doesn't have all or the most of the dialogue. So that's actor mode. I'm going to turn that back off. Annotate is what we're going to really dig into in this workshop. Transfer, I will show you. It is how we transfer notes from one draft to the other, which is why I was checking the dates on my drafts. And then reader mode is fantastic when you just want to dig in and see the words, or just see, certain actor or something, large. I'm going to turn that off. Cancel. Just shut that off. And then this little plus is because Scriptation is growing. Another great thing about Scriptation is always listening to directors and other creatives who say, why can't we favorite one of those folders? I know I was with a DP shooting a show in Vancouver, and the DP goes, why can't we organize these folders, or why can't I make a favorite? and I messaged. So I hope other folks did too, but I know I messaged and said, this DP and I would like to be able to do that. So now being able to do that has been pretty incredible. But now, since we're growing with tools, and you can customize your toolbar, which wasn't the case before. And then the other icons on the top is that classic, what do you want to do with this file, Mac? I don't know what you officially call it, but that square with the arrow. I can share my file, I can airdrop it, I can, you see my son's an anime character, I could text it to him, I could email, I could do all kinds of things. The next is a very cool function that I use quite a bit. That's the hourglass. Say I want to know what scene is RZA wearing grills. I can search grill and it'll come up and show me it was in the omitted scene 24 and it's in scene 25 in the passenger van. Or in scene 23 and 24 was omitted on that page. But RZA's wearing his vampire grill from this point forward. And I was able to do that using this magnifying glass. The next tool is also quite amazing. Shout out to director Valerie Weiss, who rocked my world when she taught me this little flag is a bookmark. If I click and flag scene 23 in this little book, I now have a bookmark. That's the scene 23. And I can edit that name and call it scene 23. I can call it grill or prep for the show or whatever I want to. And I can, in fact, bookmark several scenes, scene 26, and this is the exterior fever, typos, fever, and it lets me click edit and change the order. So why is this handy for me? As a TV director or as any director, I will be on set and someone will say to me, what color is the thing in that scene where the guy does that thing? And I'm like, which scene is it? Okay, great. And I'll go to that scene and I'll have it all marked. And I'll say, oh, his hoodie, he's wearing the black hoodie with the Wu-Tang logo. And I can very easily go to a scene. And when I'm shooting or location scouting, whatever we're scouting that day, or tech scouting, where you're going from location to location saying, the scene is about this and I'll be mastering from this direction, that I can, and that lets the crew know they can set up gear and tents and put background holding and park the cars that way and everything behind me if we're shooting all in this direction. And one of the things I need to do is instill confidence and trust in the whole team, because I'm leading all of these folks, and television episodes cost millions of dollars. So they need to trust, oh, she knows what she's doing. She knows what she's talking about. Scriptation helped me deliver. Where I've seen other directors remember when we used to do this with a script page? That's not so COVID safe. And they'd be flipping, or they have Post-it notes trying to find the next scene. I'm like, oh, we're moving to the exterior fever? Okay, great. Here's what it is. This is what we're doing. So I can very easily find my scenes. And when I shoot a scene, I just slide it and delete, it's gone. It lets me even add, say I want a bookmark for scene 23 and scene 25, even if they're on the same page. I've got both of them now on the same page. So say I have other scenes, I will bookmark all of the locations I'm scouting in a day. I will bookmark all the scenes I'm shooting in a day and use this to very quickly move from one scene to the next. All right. And then this little squares in the corner, I'm not sure what you call it, but what it does is let you see the page view, sort of zooms out on your script. So I can here create sides. Actually, you can choose pages, or I can edit, and this is where I would actually add facing pages. And it gives me choices to add a blank white page, to add one of those storyboard pages by selecting the source document. I could, in fact, add that page that I had saved with my friend and his baby as a storyboard template. That's what this ad page is. We'll get to that shortly, looking at time. I want to dig into the most used tool, which is annotate. When annotate is not selected, it's just my page. When I click annotate, it gives me all these tools. So I mentioned my nerdy color-coded system, right? Yellow for characters, the guys wearing their hoodies, and I got meth, and I got dirty, and I got U-Gun, I got Jizza, I got Deck, I got Rizza. And then I mentioned I use blue for props. So I still have this tool highlighted, and I go down to the color circle and blue for props. So they're gearing up for battle, and they got a bottle of Hennessy on brand. They got a giant Wu-Tang sword. They got a props. Now, props are wardrobe for the huge gold chain. If the gold chain is hanging on the wall, it's set Deck. If he's holding it in his hands, it could be prop. If it's around his neck, it could be proper wardrobe. So that's where I might make a question and use this handwriting tool and say, prop, wardrobe, who's covering the chain? And I would probably make that note in my nerdy spreadsheet. And I could have that ugly handwriting. I'm going to use this eraser. One of the things I'm not so good at is being super neat, but Scriptation lets me be better. There's a lot. Director Deborah Kampmeyer, her Scriptation files are so gorgeous that when they are writing books about what she directs, which is coming soon, they will be able to print her Scriptation files. She creates these custom facing pages. She has all the photos of her actors. She has beautiful visual references. Her scripts become a living document of what she created. It's mind-blowing and incredible. Mine do the job and a little bit mirror what's inside my head. So I might say the gold chain is a prop. It's not a wardrobe. Blunts, that's a prop. Reading a book is a prop. And then so I can use this highlighting tool, use any color. I can change the opacity. I can change the color. I can pick all the colors in the world I want. Next tool is this A with an underline. Now you see that little, it's probably very, very small on your YouTube screen, but that black triangle on the bottom left is a pop-up that lets me choose underline or squiggle. I mentioned when it's a performance note, stares intently. It's actually an action. I'm going to say, whoops, let me go back here. I'm going to say intently is a performance note and stares is more of an action because I'm saying, and at this point, you'll look in the mirror. So Raekwon, who I missed here. So Meth is cutting the arms off a hoodie. Hoodie I would highlight for a wardrobe color. Raekwon sits on a chair. Chair would be part of set Deck. He rests the sword and dirty laces on his Timberlands. U-God puts on a chain, sits reading, and Rizza looks in a mirror staring intently. So underline. If I need to cross something out for any reason, that's that cross out. And anytime you choose these tools here at the top, you can choose with this circle with the color, you can change it and be that very mean professor lady that I guess I wasn't her. I've always been, some of my students may say I was not the nicest all the time, but I try not to use the red pen omit, but you can do that with strike through. T for text allows me to actually type. And if you look at that blinking cursor at the bottom, it gives me, do I want to use my pencil? Do I want to show my keyboard and type? If I keyboard things like, wide shot, Rizza, or whatever, I can key it. I can also make the text bigger. I can make it smaller. I can, it lets you change the font, the color, all the things. Everything in Scriptation is very editable, and these tools, this is how I use these tools. But as I mentioned with Michael Spiller, he'll create a new line of dialogue and cover something with his other text file. That's what I meant, is he'll create text. I know I'm on a page without text, without dialogue, I mean, but he'll create something like a text box like this of dialogue of an alt line or joke and lay it right on top of the joke. When you click something in Scriptation, a single click, I can do it either with my pencil or with my finger. It'll allow me to cut, to save it. Save lets you save it to a little, I don't know, checklist thing. There's my friend's other baby used for another tutorial, but I can save it and have it in there. So if there's something I'm using all the time. So there was a show that I had a lot of lightning. So I created this little lightning, and anytime lightning struck, I would put it on the side. So I knew to make sure that the lightning was always consistent on every take from every angle where it hit at the same point. And I saved my little lighting icon. So I can edit, and it allows me again to edit, size or font, or so you see the other menu popped up on the bottom. I have my windows a little overlapped, but so I don't want to use the very annoying felt. I want to use something more basic like Arial for my font, not felt. It lets you customize color, font, anything you want and need. I can trash it. I can assign it to a layer, like I mentioned layers. Now you don't see it because I have my layer for DP layer turned off. If I turn my DP layer on, that's where the assigning comes in, of having that on a layer there. I'm gonna turn it off. All right, so that was highlighting, underline, strike through, the textful. This little bubble is my favorite bubble, where I will type up the showrunner notes, put this little bubble, which I can make different icons for, and type in all of the showrunner's notes. And what I do is I have those notes in my nerdy spreadsheet, and I copy and paste it. It allows me to go from one software to the other, where I can hold, copy, go into Scriptation, go into this little Post-it note and paste it. Now, right now it's a pink arrow, and I said I like to Post-it notes. You can do an arrow, you can do a caret, you can do an X, you can do anything. So I could have multiple notes, my actor's performance notes. I could have in my back pocket the action verbs, if you're that kind of director who's like, really push him or press him, or, turn that fire up in your eyes, or whatever that action verb. I can store a bunch of them here. So on the day, I'm not trying to rack my brain thinking, what's the right word for this scene to get at that performance? And again, I can color code it, because everything in Scriptation is pretty customizable. So I could have my showrunner's notes as yellow, my actor performance notes as green, or whatever I want to use. Next is a hand drawing tool. I'm not very neat, so hand drawing is where I go wrong. I mostly use it for check boxes. This is more of a marker hand drawing, and again, you can customize the thickness, the color, anything. This little arrow is undo, and this is redo. Undo, redo here at the bottom. So hand tool, kind of a marker tool. This lets me draw lines, and I can, again, customize the color. I have seen some directors do boxes and lines and things around their script. I've seen some DPs do yellow for day and blue for night. So they'll like highlight their whole header in day or night, so that they know, because that's what they're concerned with, is day or night. So again, the tools exist for you to figure out what's the best way to use them for your prep process. There's also a little breakout, so I can have an arrow. So I can say, make sure you don't miss that, or make sure they're wearing their wristbands, which they did not wear wristbands. This is an old version of the script. I'm like, why? We didn't do that. But it's because it's an old version of the script. Now, I mentioned facing pages. I am going to create facing pages right now so that I can then insert floor plan. I'll click those little boxes on the top right. I'll click edit and add. And I'm going to add blank facing pages for the whole script. I'm going to scroll to the top, add as facing pages. And now every page, after I click save, every page now has a corresponding white page. Now, in my advanced class, I can show you how to move, and Deborah Kampmeyer adds many facing pages for all of her actor photos and all kinds of things. But for me, I'm just adding that white facing page, and I want to go back to my scene with the grills. Now right now I'm only seeing one page. Why? Let's go back to settings. Settings, I have to go to those 3 lines, go down to settings, and choose to see 2 pages. Now I see facing pages. This brings me to the next tool, which is being able to bring in a picture. I could take a picture on my camera. I use Photo Library. There is my dog Mojo Jonas and my floor plan for Wu-Tang. Now, I was on this side when I clicked on it, so I'm going to actually erase it and make sure I'm selected on my facing page, white page side, and go to Photo Library. There is my floor plan. This is where the integration with Shot Designer or Keynote or your storyboards come in. Scriptation will let you, and let me turn it, Scriptation will let you annotate any PDF. You can then bring in anything that is an image, a screenshot. So this is something I created in Shot Designer. I would now create it in Keynote if I was doing it again. I ended up doing this scene in a oneer. That's why the floor plan looks as it does. And I just bring that in as an image. I can also, use the text tool and type my shot list. I could use this icon tool and create, whoops, I don't want to use red. I could create a little floor plan real quick. And I can use these like arrows and tools and say this character is walking to here, and maybe, let's use a little drawing hand tool. I could say this is Riza, and this is inspect the deck, and they come in and they talk here, and maybe I'm going to shoot it from here on a dolly kind of thing, and I could do a shot list. So you could make a floor plan, you can make a shot list, you can do anything. In Scriptation, I use Keynote and those other tools I showed you and bring it in as image files. Before we run out of time, okay, a couple more tools. So picture, and if I hold that picture, if I single click the picture, let me do it this way. If I single click the picture, actually this way I get more tools. If I single click the picture, it'll let me choose my camera photo library. If I'm trying to get to the little sound, there it is. If I hold it where it's that little triangle on the bottom left, I can also choose sound. So I mentioned I was recording music. So when I put that little icon down at the very bottom of the screen, you see the record button. So I can play music on my phone or talk into this recording device. And now, I don't know if I shared sound, but now I could play it back and hear myself. So I did that a lot in this episode or any episode with music. And then Stamper, I don't really use. This list is where I saved some custom things, the eraser, and then this is highlighting. I could highlight a group, say I want to highlight and group this whole floor plan, now I can have it where I can move this whole floor plan together. So that's all those icons on the right. If your Apple Pencil gets unpaired, that's the tool. So those are all the tools in Scriptation. Before we end, I'll show you very quickly about transferring seamlessly. So what I'm going to do is go back to my email. I'm going to go to that more recent version. I'm going to bring it into my Film Festival demo folder. That's in iCloud. That's my starred Film Festival demo folder. I'm going to bring it in there. And what you'll see is this is from 5/31. The other script was from 3/9. So when the script got updated, what I can do is click transfer in the file. That's my new file. Select the older file. And basically it's showing I want to go from March 9th to May 31st. I can transfer my bookmarks. I can also export a thing that compares the script. For time's sake, I'm just going to click next and begin, and I'll take all the layers, and it will be so fast. And I want to preserve my bookmarks, and I want to preserve my inserted pages, and it's going to transfer. It says it brought 29 annotations. I'm going to hit OK, and it tells me meth, he got cut from that scene. If I go to my bookmark, I can go back to that girl scene, and I am in this new draft, and you see my floor plans, the picture that I put in, all my markings, my audio, my private showrunner notes are all saved and preserved. And it even brought in that marking that I deleted, and I just deleted it again. And it tells me that I deleted something right there. So we've got 2 minutes left. I'm going to go back to my other slide for the last few minutes, 2 minutes, to say that you can study with me, learn all of this on October, I believe it's October 8th. You can register at the People's Film School. If you have questions, if you forget what I taught, okay, I'll do a couple things. If you forget what I talked about, Scriptation, mark my script. Keynote, I do my floor plans, my shot lists, any visual references, and then I bring those slides in. I can't slide a Keynote into Scriptation, but I can screenshot and drop in a photo. I can file export and bring in a photo using that image tool. You could use Shot Designer. I use Keynote. I also use this Viewfinder app and get some of these location photos. In my longer class, I'll talk about, I shoot a lot of water floods, fire scenes, all kinds of things, lots of tools. I use this to hold my pencil because my waterproof case does not hold my pencil. Here's the seminar. It is Sunday, October 8th. But even outside of that, Scriptation has so many resources. There's a Go Paperless class that I did with Valerie Weiss. There's recorded classes with Michael Spiller and Pete Chapman and lots of directors and other folks using Scriptation. And again, that help window will guide you through anything you need in Scriptation. All right, that's my time. If you need me, you can reach out via the People's Film School or at Doc Raimist. Thank you so much to the Film Festival for this opportunity to share with you. And I hope to see you go paperless very, very soon.
Thank you, Rachel. That was awesome.
You.